What if the ancient myths of gods and heroes still lived on, shaping the identity of a land thousands of years later? From the Canaanite gods like Baal and Asherah to biblical tales that redefined this region, the stories of ancient Palestine are far more than just history. They're the foundation of a culture that continues to evolve today. In this video, we'll uncover how ancient mythology shaped the identity of Palestine and how those stories still resonate in our modern understanding of this region. Whether it's through art, literature, or even the names of cities like Jericho, these timeless tales connect the past to the present in ways you may never have imagined. Welcome to Religious and Mythological History, where we explore the fascinating connections between history, culture, and modern life. Today, we're diving into one of the most intriguing stories of all time, how the mythology of ancient Palestine continues to shape its cultural and historical identity. Palestine has always been a crossroads of civilizations. From the Canaanites to the Philistines, Hebrews, and beyond, this land is steeped in stories that have been passed down for thousands of years. But these aren't just dusty tales from the past, they're living, breathing influences on how we understand the region today. In this video, we'll explore the myths of ancient gods, the evolution of these stories through history, and how they've been reinterpreted in modern times. Plus, we'll uncover why these ancient tales matter more than ever in a world where culture and identity are constantly evolving. Palestine, often referred to as the cradle of civilization, has been a cultural and historical crossroads for thousands of years. Located at the intersection of Africa, Asia, and Europe, this region was a hub for trade, migration, and the blending of ideas and beliefs. Ancient Palestine wasn't just a physical land, it was a meeting point for some of the most influential civilizations in history, including the Canaanites, Philistines, Egyptians, and later, the Hebrews. This unique geographic and cultural position made it a fertile ground for the creation and evolution of myths that shaped its people. One of the earliest civilizations to leave a lasting mark on Palestine was the Canaanites. These ancient people worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each representing aspects of nature and life. Baal, the god of storms and fertility, was one of the most prominent deities, symbolizing power over life and death. Asherah, the mother goddess, was revered as the queen of heaven. These deities weren't just religious figures, they were integral to how the Canaanites understood their world, from agriculture to politics. The myths of the Canaanites and other early peoples of Palestine were deeply tied to the land itself. For example, Baal's battles with the sea god Yam were symbolic of the people's struggle to tame the forces of nature. These stories reflected their relationship with the environment, and their dependence on the cycles of nature for survival. To this day, place names and archaeological discoveries in Palestine point back to these ancient stories, offering a glimpse into the worldview of its earliest inhabitants. As centuries passed, the mythology of ancient Palestine began to evolve, blending with the stories of the emerging Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. For example, many biblical stories, such as the tales of Noah and the flood or David and Goliath, have echoes of earlier Canaanite myths. The monotheistic faiths reinterpreted these ancient stories, giving them new theological significance while preserving their cultural roots. Even today, the echoes of these ancient myths can be found in Palestinian cultural practices, traditions, and even place names. For example, the ancient city of Jericho, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, has its roots in stories of ancient gods and heroes. Folklore and oral traditions in Palestine often preserve fragments of these myths, passed down through generations and adapted to fit modern contexts. Palestinian art and literature play a crucial role in keeping these stories alive. Modern artists and writers often draw inspiration from ancient myths, reinterpreting them to comment on contemporary issues, such as identity, resilience, and the struggle for self-determination. For example, the figure of Asherah, once a goddess, has been reimagined in modern feminist art as a symbol of strength and resistance. The transition from mythology to modernity shows the enduring power of storytelling. Ancient myths were more than just entertainment, they were a way for societies to make sense of the world around them. This tradition of storytelling has carried on in Palestine, where modern narratives often draw from ancient roots to address current realities. These stories serve as a bridge between the past and the present, connecting generations and preserving cultural identity. In modern Palestine, mythology continues to play a role in shaping collective identity. By looking back at the myths of their ancestors, Palestinians find a sense of continuity and belonging in a land that has been the site of so much change and conflict. These ancient stories are not just relics of the past, they are tools for understanding who they are today and where they come from. It's important to note that mythology is not just cultural, it can also carry political significance. In the case of Palestine, ancient stories are sometimes used as symbols of resilience and survival. For example, the story of Baal's victory over Yam has been interpreted as a metaphor for perseverance against overwhelming odds. These reinterpretations show how myths can adapt to address contemporary struggles and inspire hope for the future. Understanding the mythology of ancient Palestine isn't just about learning history, it's about seeing how the past continues to shape the present. These stories remind us that mythology is a living force, capable of evolving and adapting to new circumstances. By exploring how these ancient myths influence modern culture, identity, and even politics, we can better appreciate the richness and complexity of Palestine's heritage. And in doing so, we can see how mythology, whether ancient or modern, helps us all connect to something greater than ourselves. When we think about the mythology of ancient Palestine, it's impossible to ignore its profound influence on the cultural identity of the region. These stories provided a shared set of beliefs and values that shaped how early societies organized themselves. While the gods and heroes of Canaanite mythology, like Baal and Asherah, may no longer be worshipped, their symbolism and themes remain embedded in the region's collective memory. For example, the ancient emphasis on fertility, land, and survival mirrors the modern-day importance of agriculture and connection to the land in Palestinian culture. The oral storytelling traditions of Palestine have kept the echoes of ancient myths alive for generations. These tales, passed down from elders to children, often blend elements of ancient mythology with more recent historical events. For instance, stories of heroic resistance against invaders or struggles for survival often mirror the archetypes found in Canaanite mythology, where gods battled natural forces or external threats. This oral tradition has played a vital role in preserving cultural identity, especially in times of displacement or upheaval. Many place names in Palestine today can be traced back to ancient myths and stories. For example, the city of Jericho, believed to be one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, is tied to both biblical narratives and earlier Canaanite mythology. The name itself carries layers of meaning, connecting the present to a time when these locations were central to ancient religious practices. These place names serve as living reminders of the region's rich mythological heritage. In modern Palestinian art, ancient myths often resurface as symbols of resilience, identity, and connection to the land. For instance, artists might draw parallels between the struggles of mythological figures like Baal, who fought to control the chaotic forces of nature, and the modern-day challenges faced by Palestinians. By incorporating mythological themes into their work, artists create a bridge between ancient history and contemporary struggles, reminding audiences of the timelessness of these narratives. Palestinian literature is another powerful medium through which ancient myths continue to influence modern identity. Writers often weave mythological themes into their stories to explore questions of belonging, resilience, and cultural heritage. For example, ancient myths about exile and return resonate deeply with themes of displacement and the longing for home in modern Palestinian literature. By drawing on these age-old narratives, authors connect the struggles of the past with the realities of the present. Some modern Palestinian festivals and rituals still echo the themes of ancient myths. While the original religious practices tied to Canaanite gods have disappeared, seasonal celebrations and communal gatherings often retain elements of these early traditions. For instance, the agricultural festivals of ancient Palestine, which honored deities like Baal for fertility and harvests, find parallels in modern-day celebrations of the land and its bounty. These rituals are a testament to the enduring connection between mythology and daily life. In challenging times, mythology has served as a source of strength and resilience for Palestinian communities. The stories of gods overcoming chaos or heroes triumphing against great odds are deeply symbolic of perseverance and hope. For example, the mythological battles between Baal and Yam, the sea god, can be seen as metaphors for overcoming adversity, a theme that resonates strongly in the modern Palestinian struggle for identity and self-determination. Mythology also plays a unifying role in Palestinian identity, offering a shared cultural heritage that transcends religious or political differences. Whether through ancient symbols like olive trees, which have mythological significance as symbols of peace and endurance, or the stories of heroic figures, these shared narratives foster a sense of belonging among Palestinians. They remind communities of their deep historical roots and the common threads that bind them together. The impact of ancient Palestinian mythology isn't limited to the region itself, it has global significance. As stories from this land were absorbed into the narratives of the Abrahamic religions, they became part of a larger cultural and spiritual heritage shared by billions of people worldwide. For example, the biblical reinterpretation of Canaanite myths contributed to the foundation of Judaism and Christianity, which continue to shape global culture and thought. Ultimately, the mythology of ancient Palestine demonstrates how stories can transcend time, shaping not only the past but also the present and future. These stories aren't just relics of a bygone era, they're living, breathing parts of Palestinian identity, influencing art, literature, politics, and daily life. By exploring these myths, we gain a deeper understanding not only of Palestine's history but also of the universal human need to connect with something greater than ourselves. As ancient Palestine evolved, so did its stories. The mythology of the Canaanites, with its pantheon of gods like Baal and Asherah, gradually gave way to the rise of monotheistic religions. Judaism, Christianity, and later Islam absorbed, reinterpreted, and transformed many of the themes and symbols from earlier myths. For example, the idea of a divine struggle between good and evil, central to many Canaanite myths, is reflected in biblical narratives like the battle between Yahweh and chaos. This transition marked an important shift where myths weren't discarded but rather adapted to fit the theological frameworks of emerging faiths. The Bible played a significant role in preserving and reshaping the mythology of ancient Palestine. Many biblical stories, such as the Great Flood or the conquest of Jericho, have roots in or parallels with earlier Canaanite myths. These stories were reimagined to reflect the values and beliefs of the Hebrew people. Over time, they became foundational narratives for Judaism and Christianity, spreading the myths of ancient Palestine to a global audience. This evolution highlights how mythology can transcend its original context and find new life in religion. When Islam emerged in the 7th century, it also incorporated and reinterpreted stories from earlier traditions, including those rooted in ancient Palestine. Cities like Jerusalem and Hebron, which were central to the mythology of the region, became significant in Islamic tradition as well. The Quran references figures like Noah, Abraham, and Moses, whose narratives are tied to the lands of Palestine. Through Islam, the stories of ancient Palestine were further preserved and spread across the Middle East and beyond, ensuring their survival through centuries of change. As the ancient world gave way to the medieval and modern eras, the myths of Palestine continued to evolve, particularly through literature. Poets, historians, and writers from the region often wove elements of mythology into their works, adapting them to reflect contemporary concerns. For instance, the struggles of ancient gods like Baal against chaos were reimagined as allegories for human resilience in the face of political and social challenges. These adaptations kept the myths relevant and connected to the lives of the people who told them. Palestinian folklore today still carries echoes of ancient myths, even if the original gods and deities are no longer explicitly referenced. Folklore tales often feature themes of heroism, exile, and return, ideas that were central to Canaanite mythology. For example, stories of individuals overcoming great odds or reclaiming their homes can be seen as modern interpretations of ancient mythological archetypes, adapted to reflect the realities of Palestinian life. Archaeology has played a crucial role in connecting modernity to the ancient stories of Palestine. Excavations in places like Jericho, Megiddo, and Gaza have uncovered artifacts, inscriptions, and ruins that shed light on the myths and religious practices of the region's ancient inhabitants. For example, depictions of Baal or Asherah found on pottery and tablets provide a direct link to the stories told thousands of years ago. These discoveries not only validate the myths but also provide new ways to interpret their significance in a modern context. In recent years, Palestinian artists, filmmakers, and writers have revived ancient myths as a way to explore identity and culture in a modern context. For example, modern art installations might reinterpret the story of Baal as a metaphor for the Palestinian struggle for sovereignty, while filmmakers use mythological themes to tell stories of resilience. By adapting these ancient tales, modern creatives ensure that the mythology of Palestine remains relevant and accessible to new generations. In modern Palestine, mythology has taken on a new role as a symbol of resistance and cultural pride. The ancient stories of gods overcoming chaos or heroes reclaiming their lands resonate deeply with contemporary struggles for identity and self-determination. These myths are often used in political discourse, art, and literature to inspire hope and unity. By connecting modern struggles to timeless stories, Palestinians draw strength from their cultural heritage while projecting their aspirations for the future. The mythology of ancient Palestine is no longer confined to the region, it has gained global recognition through academic studies, art, and cultural exchanges. Scholars and historians from around the world study the myths of Canaan and their influence on global religions and literature. At the same time, Palestinian artists and writers share these stories with international audiences, reframing them in ways that highlight their universal themes of struggle, resilience, and connection to the land. Ultimately, the mythology of ancient Palestine demonstrates the power of stories to transcend time and adapt to new realities. These myths are not just relics of the past, they are living narratives that continue to shape how people understand their history, culture, and place in the world. Whether through art, literature, or oral traditions, the stories of ancient gods, heroes, and struggles remind us of the timeless human desire to make sense of the world and find meaning in our shared experiences. The mythology of ancient Palestine provides a cultural anchor in a region where history and identity are deeply interconnected. These stories remind us of the region's rich heritage, offering a sense of continuity in a world that is constantly changing. For Palestinians, these myths are more than ancient tales, they are symbols of resilience, cultural pride, and an enduring connection to the land. In a time when narratives are often contested, these ancient stories serve as a unifying force that reinforces identity and belonging. In the face of globalization and ongoing political challenges, preserving cultural heritage has become more important than ever. Mythology plays a significant role in this effort, as it embodies the values, beliefs, and traditions of a people. By studying and sharing the myths of ancient Palestine, modern communities ensure that their cultural identity is not lost. These stories provide a bridge between the past and the present, connecting younger generations to their roots and fostering a deeper appreciation for their history. Incorporating Palestinian mythology into education is a powerful way to teach history, culture, and values. Schools and universities can use these ancient stories to help students better understand the region's past and its impact on the present. For example, teaching the myth of Baal's conflict with Yam can spark discussions about humanity's relationship with nature, while exploring the stories of Asherah can provide insights into ancient social structures. By integrating mythology into modern education, Palestinian history becomes more accessible and engaging for future generations. In modern media, mythology continues to be a powerful tool for storytelling. Filmmakers, writers, and artists often draw on ancient myths to explore contemporary issues, such as displacement, resilience, and identity. For example, a modern retelling of the story of exile and return, a recurring theme in Palestinian myths, can resonate deeply with audiences who have experienced similar struggles. These adaptations show how mythology remains relevant and meaningful, even in today's world. For Palestinians, mythology is a vital part of national and cultural identity. The stories of ancient gods and heroes represent the deep historical roots of the Palestinian people, reinforcing a sense of belonging and pride. In a region where identity is often subject to external pressures, these myths offer a way to reclaim and assert cultural heritage. By celebrating and sharing these stories, Palestinians strengthen their connection to their land and history. Beyond its historical and cultural significance, mythology also serves as a source of inspiration. The themes of struggle, perseverance, and triumph found in Palestinian myths resonate with universal human experiences, inspiring individuals and communities to overcome challenges. Whether through art, literature, or activism, these ancient stories continue to motivate people to strive for a better future, proving that mythology is not just about the past, it's also about hope and possibility. The myths of ancient Palestine have a significance that extends far beyond the region itself. As foundational elements of the Abrahamic religions, these stories have influenced global culture, literature, and spirituality. For example, the mythological themes of divine justice and redemption are echoed in the teachings of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. By exploring Palestinian mythology, we gain a deeper understanding of how these stories have shaped not only the region but also the world at large. One of the most compelling aspects of Palestinian mythology is its ability to connect local stories to universal themes. The struggles of gods against chaos, the cycles of life and death, and the quest for identity are experiences shared by all cultures. By examining these myths, we see how the stories of ancient Palestine reflect broader human truths, making them relevant and relatable to audiences worldwide. This universality is what makes mythology such a timeless and powerful force. In a region marked by conflict, mythology offers a unique lens for understanding the complexities of identity and belonging. The ancient stories of Palestine often revolve around themes of struggle, exile, and return, experiences that continue to shape the lives of people in the region today. By exploring these myths, we can gain insights into how historical narratives influence modern conflicts and how cultural heritage can play a role in fostering understanding and reconciliation. Finally, the importance of mythology lies in its ability to be carried forward into the future. The stories of ancient Palestine are not just relics, they are living narratives that continue to evolve and adapt. By preserving, sharing, and reinterpreting these myths, Palestinians ensure that their cultural heritage remains vibrant and relevant. In a rapidly changing world, these stories remind us of the enduring power of history, culture, and identity to shape who we are and where we're going. As we've explored, the mythology of ancient Palestine is far more than a collection of old stories, it's a living, breathing part of the region's identity. These myths, from the tales of Baal and Asherah to the biblical and Islamic reinterpretations, connect Palestine's past to its present. They serve as cultural markers, symbols of resilience, and sources of inspiration for modern life. By understanding these stories, we gain a deeper appreciation of how mythology shapes not just history, but also the people and cultures that still carry its echoes today. The enduring relevance of these ancient myths lies in their ability to address universal human experiences. Themes of struggle, survival, exile, and return resonate deeply with not just Palestinians but people all over the world. These stories continue to teach us about the human condition, the importance of identity, and the power of resilience. They remind us that mythology is not just about the past, it's a lens through which we can better understand our present and envision our future. As we move forward, it's crucial to preserve these myths and stories, not only for Palestinians but for the world at large. Cultural heritage is a vital part of understanding our shared histories and identities. By celebrating these ancient stories through education, art, and storytelling, we ensure that this invaluable heritage remains alive for future generations. Whether through archaeological discoveries, literature, or modern art, these myths continue to find new life in the modern era. What makes the mythology of Palestine so captivating is its ability to connect the local to the universal. These stories, tied so deeply to the land and the people of Palestine, transcend borders and cultures. They offer lessons and insights that anyone can relate to, no matter where they come from. By exploring these myths, we're not just learning about Palestine, we're learning about ourselves and what it means to be human. Now that we've uncovered the fascinating journey of mythology from ancient Palestine to its modern interpretations, the question becomes, what can you do to keep these stories alive? Share this video with friends, explore more about Palestinian culture and history, and engage in conversations about how ancient myths shape modern identity. By doing so, you're not only preserving these stories, you're helping to ensure that they continue to inspire and connect us across generations and borders. Thank you for joining us on this journey from mythology to modernity. If you've enjoyed exploring how ancient stories shape our understanding of Palestine, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future explorations into history, culture, and identity. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What stories from your culture or heritage resonate with you the most? Until next time, remember, the stories of the past hold the keys to understanding our present and shaping our future.